Now, the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to bring in some instability training. Okay, so the unilateral training actually introduced this very gently to your body, because if you think about it, if I'm holding a dumbbell and I'm pressing it up over my head and back down and only on one side of my body, obviously that's going to create some instability. It requires more of my core to fight against keeping my body upright and not leaning down with that weight, right? So there is some instability there, but we'll take it up a notch by introducing some tools into your training. Now, what we'll do is that unilateral was a good gradual introduction so your body could adjust. Now we'll bring in some tools like Bosu balls, balance bubbles, foam, sliders, all sorts of things, stability balls, which create instability that your body has to react to. That, of course, again, is going to cause more neurological response, more neurons firing, more muscle fiber activation as we're building those pathways. So same thing as what we were doing before, but also it helps us with tendons and ligaments and stuff. You will notice though, for example, let's just take the chest fly again. For an example of how we'd use instability here, all of the moves, once we get to this point that we use in the instability moves, you will feel confident already in. Know you know correct form. You understand the prime mover. You're good at activating. We've got to the point where you have that confidence every time you look at that bench. You know exactly what muscle you're connecting with and how to get the most out of that lift. Now that you've got that confidence, we're going to take the bench that's stable and we're going to put you on a big stability ball, right? Or instability ball technically, but we call them stability balls. You're going to, instead of laying on the bench for a bench press, lay on that ball. And now, of course, because it wants to slide away, you're required to even lock down tighter, use more muscle fiber, use more neurons firing to keep that balance and press that weight. That will require oftentimes using a lighter weight. Because now we've got a little instability, we've got to lower the weight a little bit. But the great thing is while you may need to use a little less weight for the first few times, the strength gains that come from this, because we're building an interstate system, are phenomenal. And so if you leave your ego, at the door for a couple days, you'll definitely walk out with a lot greater gains more quickly by using these scientific techniques that we're going to apply that have been proven over and over again, like I said, in research, to really help us get the best out of your first move into exercise. Now, even like I said, if you've been training for a long time, we're going to go back, we're going to make sure you've got strong pathways so that we can get you out of any plateau that you've been stuck in. So really what it boils down to in any of these techniques is, the simplest way to put it is that once we start this training for you, you're going to be able to just go from kind of throwing weights around. I don't want to be offensive, but throwing weights around the weight room, going in and moving some weight and not really getting results, to being able to have the pathways that are needed, because the bigger the pathways, the more the muscle, the more the fiber activation that's taking place, ultimately more strength and muscle is built. And without that muscle fiber activation that we're going to lay a foundation to get moving for you, there is no stress. And without any stress to the muscle, there is no growth. And so that's why maybe in the past you've had plateaus, or maybe you know people who've worked out forever and always look the same. It very well could be that this is a huge part of it. It most likely is at least one of the big factors of it. So what we're going to do is, throughout your workouts together, we're going to use that scientific techniques like these ones. We'll progress into new ones as well as we move your workouts along. These are just the first 3 I wanted you to be aware of. And so that way we can make the adjustments needed so that we can be sure that we can avoid those frustrating plateaus and move quickly towards your goals together. So there you go, you guys. There's a quick introduction to the first 3 intensity techniques that we're going to be using, why we're going to be using them, and just so you can understand kind of the progress we're going. We will make those adjustments as needed along the way, from phase to phase, from technique to technique, and way beyond these as well. So welcome aboard. Excited to have you. Can't wait to see your first workout.